I got this from Hillary Clinton. We're on a first name basis. She says, Jimmy, what's happening to families at the border right now is horrific. Nursing infants ripped away from their mothers, parents told their toddlers are being taken to bathe or play, only to realize hours later that they aren't coming back. Children incarcerated in warehouses and, according to more than one account, kept in cages. This is a moral and humanitarian crisis. Every one of us who has ever held a child in their arms and every human being with a sense of compassion and decency should be outraged. Even as I warned this could happen on the campaign trail, that Trump's immigration policies would result in families being separated, parents being sent away from their children, people rounded up on trains and buses. I hoped it would never come to be. But now, as we watch with broken hearts, that's exactly what's happening. That's Hillary Clinton. Well, let me just tell you about Hillary Clinton. This is from Newsweek 2014. This is from Newsweek 2017, and it says Hillary Clinton said children of illegal immigrants should be sent back in 2014 CNN interview. Here's from the Huffington Post. Hillary Clinton defends call to deport child migrants, but legal groups say virtually all unaccompanied minors from Central America qualify for humanitarian relief. So she was Trump before we got Trump. And here's the proof. It may be safer for them to stay, but that's not the answer, Clinton said, adding that they should be sent back. Children who have a right to be here seeking asylum. And if given a lawyer, they would get the asylum. Hillary Clinton says send them back. That's before Trump. Now you know how we got Trump? Now you know why Hispanics didn't think that the Democrats were looking out for them? Because they weren't.
Thanks, Susan Sarandon.
At the height of the border crisis last year, in which some 68,000 unaccompanied minors crossed illegally in the United States, along with a similar number of female-headed family units, upending the national immigration debate in the process, Clinton said in an interview with CNN that children should be deported. Do you want to see that interview? Because here I have it. Here we go. Here she is talking with Christiane Amanpour, who's now doing a special series on CNN about sex. Okay.
Horrible. Hard choice. Let them stay in the United States or send them back.
Well, two quick points. One, the numbers are increasing dramatically. And
So, got to send them back then. There's way more people in crisis, children who need asylum. So I just thought I'd fearmonger a little bit at the top, because that's what that is. Mm-hmm. It's really increasing. Oh, I guess then we should shut up. Here we go.
Horrible. Hard choice. Let them stay in the United States or send them back.
Well, two quick points. One, the numbers are increasing dramatically. And the main reason I believe why that's happening is that the violence in certain of those Central American countries is increasing dramatically. And there is not...
But she doesn't say why. It's because it's a response to the drug war that the United States is exporting. Would you agree with that,
Yes,
Abby?
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
And efficient law enforcement or will on the part of the governments of those countries to try to deal with this exponential increase in violence, drug trafficking, the drug cartels, and many children are fleeing from that violence.
Should they be able to stay here? It's safer.
It may be safer, but that's not the answer.
Wow.
It may be safer for those children, but let's put them back. Let's send them back to where it's less safe for them, where they'll probably be killed. Let's go ahead and do that. That's what she's advocating. This sounds like Trump. It gets worse.
Do not.
Should they be sent back?
Well, first of all, we have to provide the best emergency care we can provide. We have children.
We have to fix them up, get them in good medical condition, then send them back to be killed. This is what she's advocating. And Christiane Amanpour is on it. That's why she keeps saying, but send them back, right? You can see what's happening here. Okay.
5 and 6 years old who have come up from Central America. We need to do more to provide border security in southern Mexico.
They should be sent back now.
Well, they should be sent back as soon as it can be determined who responsible adults and their families are, because there are concerns about whether all of them can be sent back, but I think all of them who can be should be reunited with their families. And just as Vice President Biden is... today in Central America. We've got to do more. I started this when I was secretary to deal with the violence in this region, to deal with border security. But we have to send a clear message. Just because your child gets across the border, that doesn't mean the child gets to stay. So we don't want to send...
So that's exactly what Trump and Jeff Sessions are saying. We need to send a message. Don't bring your kids here. We're sending... That's what she's saying. We need to treat them so horribly that people are afraid to come here. That's what she's saying. Here we go.
Message that is contrary to our laws or will encourage more children to make that dangerous journey.
There you go. That's Hillary Clinton. This is from the HuffPo. That was before Clinton had officially announced her candidacy for the Democratic presidential nomination. Since then, she has taken a more liberal stance on immigration, saying that she would expand upon the Obama administration's executive actions on immigration if elected, and that she supports comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway to citizenship for qualified undocumented immigrants. Her campaign, however, has repeatedly declined to answer emails from the HuffPo about whether she thinks family detention centers should be closed. She was cool with family detention centers staying open. That's who Hillary Clinton is. Send those kids back. Did you hear all the bullshit flowery language she put around sending them back? Well, we have to get them good medical care and we have to send a message. Get these fucking kids out of here. Any comment on
so
that?
This is exactly what we warned about during the Obama administration. We said, if you let the NDAA go, someone's going to get in like a Trump that's going to indefinitely detain us. If you keep these child prisons open, we're going to have someone like a Trump, this authoritarian nightmare who's going to exacerbate these policies. And that's exactly what we're seeing, where Obama did have this policy, but because Trump ran on this anti-immigrant rhetoric, of course ICE is going to take it upon themselves to just basically rip the childs from their mother's arms right when they enter the border, whereas Obama waited until, they put these people in Operation Streamline, which is another kind of gulag style, where they prosecute 80 people at a time in these mass hearings. And I went into one and I brought a hidden camera. It's extremely disturbing. They literally line up these immigrants and just immediately just charge them and then just ship them off to private prisons where they're getting, hundreds of dollars a day to fill these beds. And where are their children going once they're prosecuted and charged and put in jails? I mean, it's the same thing that was going on. It's just that now ICE has been emboldened to the point where they're now, again, going and literally ripping people out, putting them in where they're saying their cries sound like an orchestra, where the children's wails sound like a chorus. So again, these policies are not new. My question is, why are you just outraged why not before? I mean, why are we going back to this quote unquote humane deportation?
Because Barack Obama puts the left to sleep. Because Barack Obama speaks very politely and he has good manners. And so that nobody really gave a crap what he was doing. That's the fact.
I just was looking up today because I couldn't believe it myself, but at this same point in Obama's presidency, deportations were still higher, even though arrests are actually higher in Trump's administration. I think that because it goes back to the partisanship where sanctuary cities are now complying less, where under Obama, everyone just complied and deported everyone.
Yes.
And so now you see more of a rift. But again, where is it coming from? It doesn't seem genuine. Where's the moral compass from these people? And I have to go back again to Clinton's policy in 1994, the death by deterrent. This was a Customs Border Patrol policy that was put in place to, again, we have a wall. It almost spans the entirety of the U.S., and it literally is not built where you will die trying to cross the desert. And again, hundreds of people die every year. These Gestapo bootlickers go out there and destroy the ability to cross. And going back to DACA, I mean, and the Bush administration, I mean, we're talking about millions of people that were in the street because Bush actually tried to make it a felony offense to cross illegally. And there was massive resistance from millions of immigrants. They called it the sleeping giant back in 2005 when this policy was in place. When ICE, was ICE created in 2005 too?
It was after 9/11.
Yeah.
I don't know what year it was.
I think it was 2005 as well. So you had a massive pushback from people. And so they were able to halt that, which shows you that only massive amount of people on the street and a mass movement will be able to halt these policies, whether it be Republican or Democrat. Look to Obama's administration when he was was deporting people en masse. I mean, again, the left went to sleep, but people were still being deported. You had dreamers here. You had people here who were saying, hey, we need to stop this. So that was why you had Not One More movement started, where they were chaining themselves, putting their bodies on the line of deportation buses, jails. They were confronting ICE officials. And so what did Obama do? He passed DACA. It was an executive order that gave them, pushed a little bit to them to give them something, to give the dreamers something. So that's the only way these things happen, to push whether it be Republican or Democrat. And we saw today this massive pressure has now made Trump pass this executive order. So that's good, but we cannot forget about what policies have been in place for the last 2 decades, Jimmy. But again, I don't want to let Trump off the hook too much, because the anti-immigrant rhetoric that he has campaigned on, we're seeing that just being carried out to levels that I think we have not seen, and it's really similar, I guess, to Nazis. I mean, stalking restaurants, going in hospitals. I mean, it's just really disturbing.
Yeah, well, the police just the regular police have become way out of control. I mean, you saw the cop in, was it Utah, went into a hospital or harassed, physically assaulted a nurse because she wouldn't break the law. I don't know if you saw that case, but that happened. A cop went into a hospital. Cops going into hospital, arresting nurses who are taking care of people. That's the world we're living in. Yeah. That's the kind of crap I thought happened in Nazi Germany. And so now it's happening. So we live in a police state, and people are just used to it. Let me just give you a little bit more. Here's Hillary Clinton when she was running for president. Here's how she tried to change her tune.
With respect to children on the border, if you remember, we had an emergency, and it was very important to send a message to families in Central America. Do not let your children take this very dangerous journey, because a lot of children did not make it.
She's doing it again. We got to send a message. Isn't that what Trump is saying, Abby?
Yes, it is exactly what Trump is saying. And I remember an immigration lawyer confronted Obama and told him the horrors in these detention centers. And Obama said the same thing to him. He said, we have to send a message to the parents. And the person said, what? He was like, I was floored. I thought Obama was going to say, yeah, I'll work on that policy. He actually said they should not come over here. We're trying to send a message to them. Again, the death by deterrence, the separation by deterrence. Guess what we see? All separation, all death, no deterrence, because they're fleeing death.
Yes. Okay, so there's more to what she has to say.
They were robbed, they were raped, they were kidnapped, they were held for ransom by smugglers. So I think it was the responsible message that I and many others, including the White House, was trying to say to families, do not let your children, your young children, do this.
There you go. So virtually all unaccompanied minors who crossed in the United States from the violence and poverty-plagued Central American countries of El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras last year can make a credible claim for humanitarian relief under U.S. law. Hillary Clinton says send them back. According to Jonathan Ryan, the executive director of RACES, a Texas nonprofit that coordinates pro bono representation for immigrants. Last year, RACES carried out more than 2,400 legal intakes for unaccompanied minors in need of lawyers. The group found that 63% of these minors were obvious winners for claims of asylum or other relief because their circumstances closely paralleled those seen in other earlier cases in which asylum had been awarded. So right away, you look at their cases, 63% immediately you can tell without looking deeper, they're going to get asylum. That's what that says. And then, even among the rest of the minors, Ryan said, the vast majority still had a fighting chance to move forward with a claim for humanitarian relief. Those assessments are playing out in court. RACES has won 98% of the cases for unaccompanied minors its lawyers have taken on. So that's kind of amazing. Almost every one of those kids, if they're given a lawyer, gets asylum in the United States. And Hillary Clinton has been saying, send them back, send them back, send them back. Last summer, when politicians from both parties were making statements that these children were not refugees, that these children all needed to be sent home, Hillary Clinton included, my agency was busy speaking with these children, said Ryan. The same statement that Clinton made last summer are the same statements being made to legitimize the family detention that she is now apparently against. Whether it's Republican presidential candidate Trump or Mrs. Clinton, these knee-jerk statements don't do anything to protect children, and they certainly don't do anything to protect vulnerable refugees. Ashley Feasley, the advocacy director for the Catholic Legal Immigration Network, said her group has had similar experiences. We at Clinic know from representing immigrant children that when they have access to legal representation, they usually are able to obtain protection under U.S. law. And that's because in many cases, these children are fleeing persecution, targeted violence, and gang recruitment. So there you go. Abby, what do you say to that?
Yeah, look, I think that we need to prevent Democrats from basically co-opting this like they did every time. You know, they co-opted the immigrants' right movement in 2005. They co-opted basically every movement. We can't let them basically say we need to go back to humane mass deportation.
Yeah.
Because that's what this is. That's what this Clinton policy is. I mean, yeah, what Trump did was horribly exacerbated. ICE, conducted this lawlessness where they've, 3,700 children are now unaccompanied and God knows where, being trafficked with people that they don't know, their parents deported. That's insane. However, going back to the policy of detaining families together like this is horrible, and we should stand opposed to it. So we can't let the Democrats basically hijack this argument and say, yeah, just humane deportations. We need no deportations and full rights. I mean, Reagan granted amnesty for undocumented immigrants. This is not a crazy thing, but we've just shifted the conversation so far to the right that this is somehow humane. What Clinton's policy is. We have Rachel Maddow crying crocodile tears. Looking at a goddamn report that was happening under Obama as well.
And she didn't, again, then nobody gave a crap. And that's why I try to remind people, this is why we got Trump. We've got Trump because everybody goes to sleep under the horrible neoliberalism that the Democrats bring. And that's why someone like Steve Schmidt feels comfortable in the Democratic Party. David Frum feels comfortable in the Democratic Party. Josh Barrow feels comfortable in the Democratic Party because they're a bunch of friggin' neoliberals who agree on most of the horrible stuff. War, Wall Street, insurance, military-industrial complex. They agree on all that crap. Here, I'm just going to give you, here's one more. Here's Dianne Feinstein. This is from, I think, 25 years ago. Here's what she had to say about Mexican immigration.
Two borders. You have to remember a couple of things. In Mexico, there is no welfare. There is no AFDC. There is no SSI. There is no Medicaid. There is no Social Security. There is no Medicare. And there's a 58-cent an hour minimum wage. Mexico does nothing to enforce its border. It is my view that if we are going to have a North American free trade agreement, that Mexico must do its share, because the day when America could be the welfare system for Mexico is gone. We simply can't afford it. And I think you've seen the figures to state and local governments of what the cost is. It's over $2 billion in California alone. And
she sounds like Trump. We can't be the welfare. Immigrants come to this country and make our country better. Immigrants come to this country and work hard at low-paying jobs and pay into Social Security, which they're never allowed to collect. So here she is. This is our senator from the bluest of blue states. This is our senator.
Those figures, if you want them in specific, in my purse. And that's why the issue is now joined with 2 million illegal immigrants. It's a competition for space, whether the space is a job, the space is a home, a place in a classroom.
The immigrants are coming to take your stuff away. We have limited resources, and for every immigrant that gets something here, your kid won't get it. That's what she's saying, right? This is kind of mind-blowing, huh?
Comes a competition for space. This is a country that's based on immigration, and we all know that. And yet, at times, you become so overtaxed, you have to concentrate on saying the people who should be here are those who come legally at this time. And we've got to, for the time being, enforce our borders.
There you go. Any comment on that? That's, again, you wonder how we get... People are outraged at Trump. Here we go. She's saying that the United States can't be the welfare state for Mexico anymore.
What do they think the logical conclusion of these policies are? This is literally, it's really devastating to see children ripped from their families. I couldn't agree more. And yes, Trump is emboldening this. But what do you think these policies lead to? When you scapegoat immigrants, when you put in policies like NAFTA, the drug war, and when you militarize the border to the teeth.
Yes.
And create completely new agencies injected with millions of dollars of cash and hire Gestapo bootlicking neo-Nazis to run them. What do you think's going to happen? So here we are today. And again, we have to basically not let the Democrats hijack this and put our bodies on the line and put our bodies in the streets to push the policy, because these people are such charlatans. It makes me sick.
That's the senator from the bluest of blue states, Dianne Feinstein. How do you like that, huh? And you wonder why Trump's rhetoric caught on? You wonder why? Because the Democrats have been laying the foundation for that. They've been demonizing immigrants. They're the ones who've been doing it. They set the Barack Obama built the infrastructure that Trump is now using to cage people. He built that. He did it. In fact, still, if you look at the statistics, Barack Obama's first year in office, way worse for immigrants than Donald Trump's first year in office. Did you know that? Deported way more people than Donald Trump. Isn't that something? Because Barack Obama was trying to show how tough he could be on immigrants, because he was going to then give them immigrant relief later, and he had to first show how tough he was. Well, it never came. All he could do was DACA, which he couldn't make permanent. That's it. It never happened. And there's your Democratic Party. And we showed you Hillary Clinton had basically the same idea. Bill Clinton in the 90s, so how did Bill Clinton handle it in the 90s?
So NAFTA created an explosion of undocumented immigrants coming here. Obviously, we decimated Mexico's economy with that bill. And so that was him.
Especially the rural farmers.
Exactly, the agricultural workers. So that's basically the foundation of how this mass influx of immigration started in the 90s. And so in 1994 or 95, that's when he started the policy of death by deterrent. Again, the same logic. They'll be deterred when they see all the dead bodies piling up in the desert, and they're not going to come here anymore. Well, what have we seen? Just hundreds of people dying, just invisible victims out in the middle of the desert that, no one talks about. So, yes, Trump is, this is a systematic policy that wasn't in place before. But again, these policies lead to this. The apparatus is set up for this. The detention centers were built. That portrait of Trump, as dystopian and Orwellian as it is, I saw a portrait of Obama in another detention center on the wall.
Wow. Yeah, of course they're going to put his picture up. Wow. So, again, this is just exactly, you wonder how we got here? This is how we got here. That's how we got here. Barack Obama creating the infrastructure for this is how we got here. Hillary Clinton demonizing immigrants is how we got here. How we get out of it? Well, now everybody sees how horrible it is because Trump is doing it. And he does it in such a loudmouth way, it's easy to identify and stand. And so now he just today signed an executive order. I don't know how effective it's going to be, but it's supposedly supposed to keep families together now, right?
Yeah, so back to the good old policy of detaining families together. Good old humane deportation.
And let's remember that immigrants aren't criminals.
Right.
And immigrants come here. It's not, they're seeking asylum. They're supposed to get a hearing.
They're less likely to commit crimes, actually.
Less
immigration.
likely.
I mean,
yes.
You can go on and on about how immigrants are actually good for the economy. They actually do no damage whatsoever. It's just a complete hyperbolic fear.
Yes.
That's beaten into people to punch down.
The next live Jimmy Dore show is July 1st in Portland, Oregon, July 15th in Chicago, and July 27th in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all those tickets to those shows. Plus, don't forget, become a patron to help support independent media. We give you hours of bonus content every week. Plus, every Saturday at 2 p.m., we do our Solid Chat Saturday. It's our live stream on Saturdays, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Stick around for that. And please make sure you're subscribed. Even though you think you are subscribed to this channel, they're unsubscribing people every day. Just check. Click subscribe and then click the bell to make sure they send you a notification when we're dropping videos. Otherwise, they won't tell you. Thanks for your support.